So this is our second day of working on substitution with linear systems. And you should have a graphic organizer in front of you with 4 boxes on it, the steps written off to the left-hand side. If for some reason you don't have that in front of you, please go to the website and print it out, or at least copy it down so you have it to access as we go over this. Basically, I'm going to do 2 of the substitution problems for you, start to finish, completing the graphic organizer, and then that should give you a good idea of where to go from there. If you remember from the previous day's lesson, with substitution, we're taking one of the variables out of one of the 2 equations and putting a whole nother problem-looking thing back in. Yesterday, you always had equations that were either, gotta get my marker working. You always had equations that were always x equals something or y equals something. You always had at least one of those. Well, today you don't. Today you have to get the equation to look like that. So that's step 1. When I look at these 2 equations up here, which one has a variable that looks like it would be easy to get by itself? And I'm hoping you notice that it's the first one. So the x plus negative 2y equaling negative 6. I'm pretty sure I can get this x by itself fairly easily. So to do that, I'm going to add 2y to each side. Remember that the negative 6 and the 2y cannot go together. So x equals 2y plus negative 6. That's all we're doing for step 1. So now we have this. Step 2. Substitute our equation from step 1 into the other equation that we haven't used yet and solve for the remaining variable. So my second equation is 4x plus 6y equals 4. I'm to take the x out and plug in that entire problem from step 1. So 4 times 2y plus negative 6. Everything else stays the same. The plus 6y equaling 4, that all just comes down. Solve the equation. We're very, very good at solving equations at this point. Distribute through 8y plus negative 24 plus 6y equals 4. Add my like terms. So 14y plus negative 24 equals 4. Add 24 to each side. And I get 14y equaling 28. Divide each side by 14 to get y by itself. And I get y equaling 2. I'm halfway there. I have half of my answer. Remember that your answers have to be x and y. So, now we're going to stick. We're going to take the answer y equals 2, and we're going to put it back into the equation from step 1 and solve it. So we're going back up here, and we're going to plug that in. So x equals 2 times 2 plus negative 6. X equals 4 plus negative 6. X equals negative 2. So here's the second part of my answer. You do have to write your final answer as an ordered pair, negative 2, 2. Last step is to check your work. So when you go to check your work, you need to go back to the original equations. Oh, I was trying to get my paper to move. So way back up to the original equations. So x minus 2y equals negative 6. X minus 2y equals negative 6. Plugging it back in, negative 2 plus negative 2 times 2 needs to give me negative 6. Negative 2 plus negative 4 needs to give me negative 6. Negative 6 gives me negative 6, so it checks. We do have to plug back into the original equations, because that way if we made any mistakes along the way, they get caught. So 4x plus 6y equals 4. That's my second equation. 4x plus 6y equals 4. 4 times negative 2 plus 6 times 2 needs to give me a positive 4. Negative 8 plus 12 needs to give me positive 4. Positive 4 gives me positive 4, so my answer checks. Same process again, same steps. Steps aren't changing at all. So we're going to start, and I need to figure out which one of these equations would be easier to get a variable by itself. It's not always going to be the case, but I hope you notice again that it is that first one. That y doesn't have any number in front of it. So that's going to be my easiest one to work with. So negative 5x plus negative 1y equaling 12. I want the y by itself, so move the 5x first by adding 5x to each side. Negative 1y equals 5x plus 12. Divide everything by a negative 1. And y equals negative 5x plus negative 12. So now step 2 is to take that equation that we got, that then negative 5x plus negative 12, so y equals negative 5x plus negative 12. To take that and plug it into our second equation. And our second equation was 3x plus negative 5y equaling 4. So everywhere I see y, I'm going to plug in the negative 5x plus negative 12. So 3x plus negative 5 times negative 5x plus negative 12 equals 4. Distribute through the parentheses. I get positive 25x. I get positive 60 equaling 4. Combine like terms, 28x plus 60 equals 4. Add negative 60 to each side. And 28x equals negative 56. Divide each side by 28. And you get x equaling negative 2. Now that I know what x is, I can go for y. I'm taking my problem that I switched around, and I'm taking my answer, and I'm putting them together. So y equals negative 5 times negative 2 plus negative 12. Y equals 10 plus negative 12. Y equals negative 2. Final answer, write as an ordered pair, negative 2, negative 2. Now I need to check it. You have to check in the original two equations. So my first equation is negative 5x plus negative 1y equaling 12. And we said our answer is negative 2, negative 2. So negative 5 times negative 2 plus negative 1 times negative 2 needs to equal 12. 10 plus 2 needs to equal 12. 12 equals 12. And it checks in one equation. My second equation was 3x plus negative 5y equals 4. 3 times negative 2 plus negative 5 times negative 2 equals 4. Negative 6 plus positive 10 needs to equal 4. 4 equals 4. And my answer checks. And that's pretty much the new piece today. The only new step from what we did yesterday was this first step where you had to get the equation, I can't even find it right now, where you have to get the equation switched around by itself. Step 2, 3, and 4 are exactly like yesterday. And we've been switching stuff around ever since we were doing slope-intercept form. So hopefully it's coming back to you pretty easily. Try the homework. If you don't have it, it should be on the website. If you can't print it, you can certainly write down the problems and give some of them a try. If you have any questions on any of this, please feel free to ask.